Hello, so today I'm going to show you my food forest in my garden in Campile in winter. Well, winter. It feels like spring. Today it's 17 degrees, which is not bad. And this first part that you see is the syntropic experimental site, syntropic agroforestry site. And as you can clearly see, I cut down, I cut down actually quite some trees. I trimmed them. And so here, for example, you have an elder tree, and there you can see lots of polonias. Why did I cut them down? Well, because they were too tall. As you can see, that one, for example, is 7-8 meters tall or so. And if you have too many of them, of those that are so tall, it just gives too much shade. So I cut them in order to let more sunlight come into the system, because here actually there's a lot of strawberries on the ground and raspberries, as well as other red fruits like gooseberries, and also some fruit trees like this apple tree. There's another apple tree, or even multiple ones. Here's an apple tree, there's an apple tree, no sorry, it's a cherry tree, and then there's another apple tree. So the idea is that let's say April, May, when there's a lot of sun available and there's not much drought stress yet, all those fruit species, they will have enough sunlight to optimize their processes. And then once it starts getting very hot, like 30-ish degrees, and drier, those trees that I trimmed will actually have recovered. They will have made at least 2 or 3 meters, I think, by the end of June. So there will be much more shade in the system, protecting the sensible red fruit species. Here you see another row of strawberries and raspberries, and this is actually a pepper tree, a Szechuan pepper tree. I also want to show you what I'm working on in the food forest, because actually it's winter, so I'm preparing the garden. Like as you can see here, it's still rather green with still some leeks, arugula, salad, and I actually I collected a lot of manure that I spread out. Well, I still have to spread it out, but I put it down in heaps. And I want to show you, as I was saying earlier, the food forest area, because I actually want to do agroforestry in this food forest area, meaning I want to grow vegetables. And as you can see, I already prepared some of the land where I want to grow vegetables. So this was covered in weeds like herbs like this, and I removed them recently. As you can see, the distance between the tree lines is 4 meters, more or less 4 or 5 meters. So there's actually not so much space, and those trees are actually getting pretty big. So the sun rises on that side, there to be precise, in summer, and I think till 9 or so there won't be much sun because of those trees basically. And I'm actually thinking of cutting down this tree, because it's actually really stealing a lot of the sunlight, especially for the vegetables over there. But I haven't decided on that yet. And then it goes like that, and it disappears behind those trees. That's, I think, about 4 or 5 in summer. So this means that those vegetables here, they do not have that much sunlight, which is not necessarily a problem, but it of course reduces the theoretical yield potential. And yeah, that's, by the way, some potatoes that I found here, because last year I grew potatoes here. And I have to keep this in mind. For example, last year I grew sweet potatoes over there in that alley, but it was not a bumper crop, to be honest. And I think this has a lot to do with all the shade from this tree line here, and the fact that in general this garden is not super exposed, because the sun disappears quite early over there, and it appears rather late because of those trees. So this is why this year I think I'm gonna reduce at least the surface of sweet potatoes and other heat-loving crops in this in between those tree lines, and I'm gonna plant more of the species that cope well with a little bit of less sunlight. A little bit less sunlight, like potatoes or even zucchini, beets, Swiss chard, those kind of crops. And over here, last year I grew beans and corn, well, corn is something that's completely useless here in Corsica. There's actually no one who buys corn here. I only had, this is quite funny, in September we organized a market here in Campile, a producers market, and at the end I was already getting all my stuff in my car, all the vegetables, and there were 3 Americans who approached me who had seen corn earlier and they want to buy everything, and I hadn't sold a single corn stalk yet, so I was pretty surprised. and yeah, but yeah, that's the problem here. So no more corn, or maybe just for me. And here I want to grow tomatoes because of the nitrogen inputs from the beans last year, and I still have to add a lot of organic matter / fertilizer in the form of manure, maybe, because I saw last year with the beans and also the corn that they were not thriving here. This soil has not had any amendments, and it's not super nutrient available at this moment. So I think I'm gonna do a combination of adding manure and maybe also green manure, so I can plow under, for example, the roquette, the arugula, and other green crops once they start flowering, and they are already starting flowering. So maybe I'm gonna do that. I'm also thinking of doing some experimentation with like an old kind of water system here, like instead of putting a drip irrigation tube as I normally do, to make like one kind of an alley, to put it a small channel, not that deep, but so the idea is to put the hose in the channel and then it will just flood irrigate basically the whole channel, and the roots of the tomatoes should be able to access it. This is how many people actually grow tomatoes in Corsica. It's of course not the most efficient way to water your crops, but they do this like once a week and normally it's fine, so it's not that bad neither. But I haven't decided yet. I'm gonna think about it. Well, let me just show you the last part of the garden so you've seen everything. Oh yeah, wait a sec. I'm gonna show you one other thing. 2 more things actually. This guy is starting to flower almost. How is it called in English? I think dogwood. Cornus is the Latin name, and that's the earliest plant to flower in the food forest, with nice yellow flowers. And here I want to show you something else, because I have actually high hopes that this year I might have some trees that start producing their first real crop of fruit. Because this will be the 4th year that most of the trees are in the ground. As you can see, some, especially on that part there, are pretty tall. And well, it's not impossible that one of them might actually give me some prunes or some plums or some apples. And this guy, I want to show you this guy. This is a Lygnus umbellata, I believe, which is also known as autumn olive. And it's a nitrogen fixing, fast growing shrub. And last year it really started growing. As you can see, it made all these nice shoots. So I think this year I might have some fruit, and I'm pretty sure that it will grow insanely. So that's very good. Yeah, so I'll keep you posted on that. Then look at that view, by the way, so beautiful now. And now I'm going to show you the last vegetable gardens of my garden. So all the way down there, I decided, by the way, to not use the vegetable garden I used back there, because it became too much. I also have 3 other gardens to manage now in Moriani, so yeah, it will be too much. So I'm gonna stick with what I'm showing you today. Here, this terrace actually also needs an input of some soil, because the soil here is pretty bad and it's not very deep. That's my main problem. That's why this garden, in combination with the fact that it's very shaded, imagine the sun comes up there, so the first hours there's no sun whatsoever. And so I'm gonna fertilize this like crazy to be able to grow more. This is, by the way, Mizuna and parsley that are both flowering. Here are my tomato. This is my tomato terrace, as I call it. But unfortunately, this will be the 4th year if I were to plant tomatoes here, and this is of course too much. There are many spores of diseases disease causing microorganisms in this soil. So I think I'm still gonna try give it a go with like 1 or 2 of those rows, because it's a lot. Actually, I can't remove those things. I can't remove them. So it would be pretty nice to be able to use them as much as possible. But I'm not gonna put all the eggs in the same basket. So I'm gonna also plant some tomatoes where I showed you earlier, where I grew my corn and beans last year. And I have, I don't know actually what I'm gonna grow here. Maybe some sweet potato, because here, especially this side, is pretty sunny. Although this also needs some pruning, like this oak and that oak. They are blocking the sun, and it's getting too much. So I think I'm gonna prune them pretty heavily. Let's see. So yeah, this is a small update of how my garden looks like. What my garden looks like in winter, which doesn't feel like winter. We are in urgent need of rain and snow, but let's not ask for too much. So yeah, I'll keep you posted about the developments of the garden.